So these are the reasons why I will never use a Ouija board again. Hi everyone, as I mentioned previously in the last video that I did talking about the Ouija board, I will not be doing these videos in my house, so I'm out and about at the moment, and so I thought I would just film my next video as I promised in the last video would be coming. So yeah, this is basically the reason why I won't do Ouija boards anymore. This is basically what happened the next couple of times that I played with the Ouija board as a young teenager. So as I said previously, I first tried it around the age of 13 and it didn't go particularly well, and for some bizarre reason I ended up doing it again a few years later. And I mainly did it with a friend who we're going to call Mabel. So Mabel and I decided that we would play with the Ouija board. And as was the case last time, it didn't go particularly well. It was actually really scary, and yeah, this is basically what happened. So we set the Ouija board up and we were doing the usual, is anybody there? Does anybody want to talk to us sort of thing? And nothing happened for a while, but eventually it started moving around and spelling out names as it does. But it was coming out with all of this sort of information. Now, at first we were in my house and we didn't want anybody to, there's some cyclists coming down on the road, so I'm probably going to have to stop talking about this because I'm going to look really weird standing at the side of a country lane talking about Ouija boards. And they're gone. So anyway, yeah, we weren't convinced that it was actually real, and so we had snuck out of my house at this point and we were hiding in the shed as you do. And there was just the two of us, and we were saying to this Ouija board, okay, well, we'll prove you're real then, prove this is really real. The Ouija board spelled out that a member of my family was actually going for cancer tests, which when I checked up later on, it turned out that that was actually true. But neither of us had known that at the time, so we were like, look, let's do something a bit more obvious. Tell us something real that we don't know. And it spelled out mum at keyhole. And I said mum at keyhole, and my friend went at the keyhole of the shed. So we both looked at the keyhole, and sure enough, my mum was trying to look through the keyhole to see what we were doing. So we quickly collected all this together and put it away, and that was it for us for the rest of the day. But that to us was a little bit of proof that something was going down, because neither of us could have known that my mum was there. We were both sat far enough away from the keyhole to know that anything was there. And also, I mean, it mentioned a relative of mine that was going through cancer treatment and had named a relative of hers that she didn't know was dead. So that spooked us a little, but being teenagers, being sort of desperate for a bit of a thrill, I suppose, we decided to do it again. And this time it wasn't quite so harmless. So that night we invited another friend around, we'll call her Jessica. So Jessica and Mabel were around at my house and we'd set up the Ouija board. Now Jessica really wasn't into it, she was really scared, but it was spelling out a lot of nonsense. And it started spelling out threats, and it was all directed at my friend Mabel. So it started spelling out things like, I hate Mabel, I hate you Mabel. Obviously I know it's not Mabel, but we'll call her that. It was spelling out all things like that, and it was saying things like, I hurt you when you're asleep, and all sorts of things, which at this point Mabel looked really uncomfortable and really scared. And this was the point where Mabel hadn't had her finger on the glass, because we were saying, oh, you know, it's all about you, isn't it? Take your finger off the glass, because we were still thinking at this point it was each other. But it kept spelling out threats to Mabel, and I know it definitely wasn't me that was pushing it, and Jessica, who was terrified of the Ouija board, I don't know why she'd suddenly start threatening Mabel. So yeah, I don't think it was her. But anyway, it said, I hurt you when you're asleep, Mabel. And that's when Mabel's face drained and she looked terrified, and I was saying, what's wrong, and she's like, stop doing it. So we stopped and we sat back, and I said, well, what's wrong, and she was like, right, that this has been happening, and she showed us, and there was marks on her thighs. She said she didn't know how she'd been getting them, but when she'd been waking up at night, she'd had like a big bruise on her thigh, and she didn't know where it had come from. And then there was another time she had what looked like hand marks on her. She had a lock on her door anyway, as a lot of teenagers do. She used to lock her door before she went to bed at night and things like that. I mean, I used to do something similar myself. I had a little lock on my door, thought it made my room into a bit of a flat. But anyway, we all used to do that sort of thing. So she knew nobody was coming in her room at night, but she was still waking up with these bruises. So that really should have been inclination for us to stop playing with this, because obviously something not right was coming through. But we were teenagers and we thought we knew best, so we carried on. But Mabel had come up with the amazing idea of, why don't we record it? So we got a voice recorder out, and as we were doing it, we were sort of saying, you know, can you record your voice onto this then? Record your voice. If you're so real, record your voice. And you could see like the lines of sort of movement when anything happened. So when we were talking, you could see the lines on the computer going like that. And then there was the voice recorder out, and we were sitting in absolute silence, and there was no one else in the house at this point. This was night time. And the movement on the screen did that, as if something was recording, but we couldn't hear anything. So we were all sat there, obviously absolutely terrified, wondering what was going on with this voice recorder. And so we played it all on the computer, and at first we could hear nothing. It took 3 times of listening to that point on the voice recorder till we heard something that sounded like a whisper in sort of a gruff voice, but we couldn't make out what it was saying. And we all had headphones on, and we were listening, and we were desperately trying to pick out what they said. And the more we listened to it, it was sort of making noise, like you could hear there was words. So I messed around on the computer. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I messed around and changed it so that we could hear what was coming out louder. I don't know how I did it, but I turned up because this was an old style computer as well, so I turned up all of the sound settings, and we all heard the voice at the same time, which said, in a really gruff voice, which I'm not going to try and do, it was really scary. It was a very gruff, manly, horrible, the best I can describe it as demonic voice said, "Mabel, be scared." Then it was like a pause, and then it said, "Attack." So we all looked at each other, and I can't remember which one of us said it, but one of us said, "Did that say, Mabel, be scared, attack?" And whoever finished the word attack, when that happened, all hell broke loose in my room. And it was so scary. I mean, we had candles on, trying to be atmospheric, as you do. All of the candles blew out all at once, and it felt like it went on for ages, but it must have been seconds. So all of the candles went out. It was Christmas time. I had Christmas decorations up in my room. All of the Christmas decorations fell down, and there was bangs, and just things fell down in my room all over. It was like on all sides of us things fell. So all of the Christmas decorations fell down, the candles went out, my handbag dropped off the door handle. It like exploded with noise. Well, Jessica by this point was so petrified that she had a bit of a panic attack. She cried and she went home. So the battery that I painstakingly charged before I left the house drained, so now this is take 2. So I think I was saying that Jessica decided to go home, and so it was just me and Mabel left for the rest of the evening. What I did forget to mention was that during the earlier evening, when we had been playing with the Ouija board, Mabel had asked for the contact details of a family member that she hadn't spoke to in a long time. Now, obviously none of us knew this number or anything like that, but it had given us a telephone number, which was actually that had a local area sort of dial code. So we, after Jessica had left, Mabel and I went to a telephone box and we rang this number, and we asked for the person that she was trying to call. And the man who answered said that the woman that we were trying to contact had lived there, but she'd moved on. She'd like moved out a few weeks earlier. They were in a relationship. They'd split up and she'd left. So although it wasn't the up-to-date contact number, it had given us the contact number. So neither of us could work out how this had happened. So anyway, that's when we went home and we recorded the voice that said, "Mabel, be scared, attack." And yeah, so that was where we were up to. Yeah, so Jessica had gone home, and Mabel didn't want to go home. She was too scared, and I didn't want her to go home because I was too scared to be alone. So Mabel stayed the night. So for the rest of the night, there was sort of banging, and I don't know if we were imagining it. We could have been sort of knocks, what sounded like knocks on the door, and we were alone. Knocks on the door, banging, just noises that weren't normally in my house. It was a pretty scary night, and again, I don't know if it was sort of any little noises were amplified by the fact that we were absolutely petrified. So I mean, I can't say for definite that actually was anything supernatural at all, but to us it was. And so the next morning, after having not very much sleep at all, I got up and I decided to make a cup of tea for myself and Mabel. So I went downstairs and I made a cup of tea, but she didn't get up and I thought I'd let her sleep. So I watched an episode of something on TV, eventually made her another cup of tea and decided to go up and see if she was stirring and give her a tea. So I went up the stairs, and as I opened the door, the shock and horror on Mabel's face said absolutely everything. She had thought I was in the room with her still because she'd heard someone moving around on my bed, and she was sleeping down on the floor. She was in a sleeping bag on the floor at the side of my bed. She'd heard what sounded like me tossing and turning, moving around in the bed. So she had apparently called my name and said that I'd looked over the side of the bed and was staring at her and smiling, a really scary smile. And she said that she had asked me to stop it, and I carried on staring at her. And she said I'd done it once in the night, so she said she thought I was trying to scare her. So she said I was looking over the side of the bed just staring at her. And she said that she had said to me, if you don't stop it, I'm not going to be a friend, this isn't funny. And apparently she'd had a full-on argument with me, who was downstairs at the time, looking over the side of my bed at her. And she said she'd turned over, and as she turned over in a rage, that's when I'd opened the door. So I'd been downstairs and not in the bed. So she wouldn't believe it, and she got up and she was looking at the bed, and I said, feel the bed, if I'd been in it, it would still be warm. So she was touching the bed, and I was saying I've been downstairs for the past 45 minutes, I've been making a cup of tea, and I still can't explain that. And I don't think Mabel was making this up. Mabel was genuinely terrified. In fact, she didn't actually come and stay over at my house again for quite a while after that. And so that was the last time that I ever played with the Ouija board. And yeah, like I say, it was a very scary experience. I can't say any of it was actually supernatural. I can't prove anything. But there were a lot of things that were unexplained. A lot of things. And I've tried over the years to try and rationalise them, and I can't. So yeah, that's just my experiences with the Ouija board and why I will no longer do it. I might upload next. I've got a house that currently appears to be a little bit haunted. I've lived in a few houses, and this is the only one where things keep happening. So yeah, I might upload that next, depending on how I feel and when I get time to do it. So if you come to this channel because of this story time, feel free to subscribe. There'll be other story times now and then. If you're normally here for the book focus videos, there'll be another one of them next week, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!